Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Teas. With our inspirational teas, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Teas at dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Hi guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James. And on my podcast, my guest and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Until then, see you soon. Hey, welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. I am your host, Earnest James. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where we believe that the relationship between a father and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. And so our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to our fathers and our daughters. Make sure you guys, if you haven't already, make sure you're listening to our podcast. Listen, like, subscribe, and share on all our social media platforms. Just look up Girl Dad Discussions. We're on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Wherever you look us up, we'll be there to check us out. So also, I want to let you guys know, I'm going to tell you guys how you can win $100 from the podcast, but you got to stay to the end of the episode in order to get that information. So today, just like any other day, we are best with a guest, Mr. J. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. First of all, let me say thank you for being on, because you could be doing anything else, but you're here with me and my listeners. We definitely appreciate it. So I want you to know that up front. So let's jump right into it, man. Do me a favor, introduce yourself to my listeners and tell them who you are and what it is you do for a living. Because I know as dads, that's generally how we relate ourselves with what we do. So,
Oh man, so I'm Jay Haleem Washington. That's my last name, but I'm Jay Haleem. I'm an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, and girl dad. I got a son too, but I'm a girl dad. That's the most important thing I do.
right. So, my first question to you then is, what does it mean to you to be a girl dad?
Man, it means everything. It meant everything before I had a daughter. I literally said that I wanted to have a daughter first. And I said that because I believe that, I never seen a daughter abandon their dad. I've seen dads abandon their daughters, but I've never seen a daughter abandon their dad. I've seen sons hang around, but not like, oh, I'm gonna take care of my dad type of thing. So, and then I also wanted to have a son, so I wanted him to be like a situation where he had two mothers, where he had that double protection, from the female. He was double loved. So God blessed me with it. That happened exactly how I wanted it to. And my daughter's just like me. It drives me crazy sometimes. But she's just like me. And we bump heads from time to time now because she's a teenager. And it's something like when they hit that teenage thing, I don't know, they come from a different planet. the teenagers. But it's been, my journey with my daughter has been everything to me. She's the inspiration of a lot of the things that I have done and a lot of things that I'm doing now. So it's been everything.
Yeah, and you know what, that's interesting because I never thought about it. Like you said, with there are some dads that abandon their daughters, but you never seen a daughter abandon her father, and I got to think about that now. Yeah, I think that's probably a true statement for the most part. We pretty much can probably put our count on one hand how many times it's been the opposite. I think I think there's a love and a desire, what I'm saying, just as much as we as fathers have for our daughters. I think there's also an opposite desire for our daughters that just longs for the love and affection of their fathers. Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that led me to even start this podcast, man. So because I wanted to be a voice that is not often heard,
Yeah.
and so with me being a girl that a fatherless daughter advocate, you know, one of the things I started doing was asking two questions. What does it mean for you to be a girl dad? And what is something that your daughter has taught you, which I'll ask you in a minute. But those two questions I would ask on my other podcasts, to my male guests, who had daughters. And that's how the whole thing even started. But the conversations were so impactful and enriched, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you know what? We got to do a whole podcast with just the girl dads and having this conversation about the daughter. So I like that. That's something new that I never even thought of. That
Mhm.
we'll be in the third in the fourth episode, and we already still dropping gems. So I definitely appreciate that because I never even thought of it that way. So
Mhm.
when we thinking about your daughter, how did you find out that you was going to be a father? As far as with your daughter.
Oh, my daughter, all my kids were playing. It was not. I didn't have no accidents, so no slip ups. My kids was playing, and just normal. I'm married already. We said we planned to have all our kids before we were 30, but it didn't work out that way. But we did. But it was planned. We've been married, and we married. Now we're gonna have this child. And the first one was a girl. I just wanted a girl, and that happened like that. But it was nothing crazy, nothing. Oh my God, it
Right.
was just
Right,
like,
right, right.
hey, and that was that, man. And again, every time that's my dog right there. My son looked just like me. We roll like that, but my daughter is my hitter.
Right,
So
right.
she's my hitter, and so yeah, I planned for her, and God listened to it, so she's here.
Yeah, and my daughter at the time of this recording, my daughter just turned 20. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And so I'm a little further ahead on that journey. But I always say my baby not a baby no more, but she's still my baby. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so yeah, so I was me and her mom was married at the time, when she was conceived also. So we also was playing. But I always ask because sometimes, is people find out
Oh
different
no,
ways.
absolutely.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Absolutely.
And it's all a part of the story sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, I didn't
Absolutely.
know, and we was just doing what we do, and it was like, hey, you know
Well,
what I'm
let me
saying?
tell you, and sometimes it's like, oh, I didn't know I had a daughter. She came
Right,
to me. She was already 5. Her mama dropped her off on the doorstep.
right, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, and that's gonna make for a hell of a podcast once that question is answered like that. Hey, they
right,
dropped
right.
it off.
It's coming because what I'm saying. Like I said, I already got people that had already signed up for it, and I asked them a little information, and that's one of them that's already been out there. With one guy that didn't find out till he had a daughter till she was 3. You know
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean? And
one.
so I'm looking forward to that conversation.
Yeah,
You
that's
know
one.
what I'm saying? But like I said, that's why I asked because we have different things. So when your daughter was when y'all find out that y'all was having a child, did y'all find out the sex of the daughter of the baby
Yeah,
first, or did
yeah,
y'all
yeah. We
decide
did
to wait?
not. We immediately wanted to because we like to plan. So like,
Okay.
man, it was so crazy. With her, it was just it's night and day. I have 2 kids, and it was night and day with both of them. Like, we had my daughter, she had the world. My son, we were in the dumps. Some years later. So She had the world. We planned everything to the T. I think we had to have about 4 baby showers for her. So it was nuts because we would. I lived in DC where my wife's from, and I was from Jersey, right outside of New York, from Newark. And so out there, and so doing what they did at home, and they did at down her home, and then at like her coworkers. So I mean, that girl had everything, and then we were living good, doing what we was doing. So it was an amazing time for her. Yeah, we wanted to know, definitely. We
Right.
never That was never any like, but both of them like, yeah, what we got, so we can
Right.
find
What we
this.
dealing with?
Yeah,
So how old is your daughter now?
14, she'll be 15 in July.
Okay, all right. So how was your experience as a girl dad when she was a baby compared to now as a teenager?
Just spoiled rotten, and now it's like I gotta watch you. you. You a weirdo teenager now, but that's still my dog though. But no, it was just I'm like that with all. I got like 3 surrogate daughters and like a few that god daughters.
Mhm.
I'm like a girl dad all the way around. So they always can get something out of me. So my daughter's spoiled rotten. She's daddy, 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 daddy. Still to this day, I just remember I never missed any special events for her. Like when she went to school, from time she went to school, I was always at every function. I was always there, like, half a days. We're going, that's our time. I'm picking her up for half a day, going to the movies. So I've seen all of the Frozens and all the other movies that you can think of. And we go get ice cream, go get lunch. We did that every year for years. I would get her on Valentine's Day when I get my wife something. I would get her something. My thing with her was teddy bears. So I always get her a different teddy bear on Valentine's Day till she got too old and she was like, I'm good on that. But but for years that's what I would do for her, and it would be like the talking teddy bears or the bumblebees, anything for her. So that was what we did when we was younger. Now it's just ducking her because she gonna want some money for something. Like she wants
Well,
some money for something.
I tell you right now, that part never goes away. Like I said, my
Exactly.
daughter Twitty, she's in college and she stays on campus, and I promise you, she hit me up like every other day.
Yeah. So that's what that
so
looks.
so with you and your daughter being so close, tell me something that your daughter has taught you. You know what I mean? Just from her point of view, or just from just something she's taught you. You know, as just being a daughter, telling her father something.
Man, it's not that she told me. Like, my daughter taught me a couple things, real love and resiliency. So I'll start with the resiliency first. We've been through hell, as I told you. Like when we had my daughter, I had an amazing business. My wife worked on Capitol Hill in DC, 600 Pennsylvania Avenue. So it's a little bit down the road. 1600 is the White House. So that's where my wife worked, and we lost everything. And this little girl didn't flinch. She didn't flinch. She didn't go. We be worried about these kids, but they're a lot tougher than we give them credit for. And my son came years later. We didn't have anything. We was on the come up trying to get back. And my daughter was with us through all of it. And she went to the worst school in the city to going to the best school in the city. And each school, she didn't complain. She made the most of it. She made the best of it, out of everything that she did. And I couldn't do nothing but be in awe of her, because of adults would have complained and cried and bitched and moaned about everything. And she just took it in stride. So as a young kid, she deserved everything that she gets because she's a good kid. She's good at school. She does what she's supposed to do. That she's a teenager, so she's going through the weirdo phase. But overall, she's a great kid. And the love portion is like she's down for us. now that she knows what she knows, she's down for us. Like she's like, it's about my mom and my dad. And just speaking on me, she's like, that's my dad. It's nothing, you can't breathe hard on my dad the wrong way. It's a problem. And I always wanted that. Somebody for me. And
Yeah.
I can have whatever going on wrong in the world, but I know that mine is down for me 1,000%. So that's the real love portion for me.
So how do you think being a girl dad has changed you for the better? Like the version of you before you had kids and before you had a daughter, and then after she came into your life, the way that you've made maybe just changed from being just by being a father. You know what I mean?
Man, everything, every way. I've been changing every way. I mean, I didn't have my mom and my dad growing up. And I come, we'll talk. I'm not gonna put it all out on here because we talked about talking at another time, but I've been through it. I did it all, So being in the mix the way I was, having a child made that really like, nah, that's not even possible. My daughter never seen. I'm from Newark, New Jersey, Brick City, like that New Jersey Drive movie. Yeah, I lived that. Like we that's where we come from, for real, for real. And I was in the heart of everything. My daughter never seen none of it. And that's been my goal, is to like, no, you don't even, you might have heard stories because I'm a motivational speaker and I go around and I train, and she's heard those things and we speak together because she's an author too. This is her 2 books right here. My daughter has already written 2 books of her own. And so we've done joint speaking engagements. So she knows her dad's story, but to make sure that she was never a part of anything like that or seen anything like that has been my life's work since she came on this earth.
Man, that's what's up. You know what's your daughter's name? Because I got to get used to asking that too. Because we be talking, be like my daughter, and I ain't even said my daughter's name. I don't think since we've been since
Sydney.
I've been recording.
My daughter's name is Sydney.
All right, Sydney, cool. My daughter's name is Ashanti James. So shout out to Ashanti and Sydney. I got to make sure I take note of that. Ask what's the daughter's name, because we be talking even with the other dads I had on, but like, yeah, my daughter, and we don't even know her name. So I heard you talk about you just talked about you and an author, and your daughter is an author, which I think that's an amazing thing. So, as a dad or as a girl dad, what has been one of your biggest accomplishments?
Man, it's so funny. I tell her, and I got plenty of them with my kids, period, but definitely with her. Like she's at 14. At 14 is when my life kind of started going down the road, down the bad path. At 14, I was shot. I really got into the street real heavy at that time. That was the start of the decline. And the fact that, I remember getting shot. It was like 12 o'clock. It was after 12 o'clock in the morning, blocks away from my house. My daughter barely stayed up past 12 o'clock. You probably count on my 2 hands is when the time she stayed up past 12 o'clock in her life. And so, those accomplishments of protection, and we talked about it, protection by prevention for me. I believe in that. I don't want to put you in a situation that I even got to show you that. I mean, I felt bad at times where I had to like flex on somebody in front of her because they're gonna ask questions, but I'm like, I don't want to show you that level of aggression.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't put my hands on my daughter, even when she was disciplined. I let my wife do it because I always told her I don't want you to normalize no man putting a hand on you. And I'm way bigger than her. And so if you're a man, I feel like in my house, if I raise my voice, everybody stop. Everybody. So it's not, I don't have to I don't beat your mother. I never did. I've been with my wife for 23 years. I've never put my hands on my wife. I never put my hands on my daughter. And that's just not a thing that we do. Now, her mother get at her and I get at my son. But nah, that's not that. So those things are some accomplishments that, because that wasn't like that in my household. Like, everybody got it. They got served up.
Right. Right. Well, so one of the other things I heard you say was being able to be at all your daughter's functions. Right. And so one of the things that I share is one of my biggest regrets as a father, to my daughter was missing her daddy daughter dance, right?
Mm, mm,
So she had a daddy daughter dance. She probably was like 7 years old. I had to work, and we talked about it. And I was like, all right, baby girl, I got to work. I'll catch you on the next one. So, like I mentioned earlier, my daughter just made 20 like a couple days ago. There
okay.
never was the next one. You know what
Wow.
I'm saying?
Wow. Happy
So
birthday to her.
that's one of my biggest regrets. So, as a girl dad, do you have anything that you would categorize as a regret or something that you may have done, not done, or whatever, just concerning you and your daughter that, if you could do it over, you would do it over?
You know, at one point when we was going through, I had to move in with my in-laws, and that's what I regret. Even though she don't really remember much of it, like she like it's starting to be a distant memory.
Mm,
But in between that and I told you I put her in some of the worst schools because we ain't have it. Like my kids in private school now. Like I never wanted them to go through that. I never wanted them to go through that. And I've apologized up and down. And, oh, Daddy, it's okay, it's okay. But I'm big on my plan, and I'm big on like because I know I went through hell. I remember going to a school when I was in second grade, second through fourth grade. I was in gifted and talented school. They would bus me to the other side of town. And I remember going back to my neighborhood school in fifth grade, and they had the same book I was using in third grade that I had to use in fifth grade. So
mm,
I didn't get it then, but as an adult, I realized it, and I didn't want my kids to be in that space. And I
right,
know how important that is. It's not wrong, nothing wrong with being in a public school, but I wanted them to be in the right one if they had to be in the public school, not just whatever I can get them in because they need to be in school.
right.
I went through my family, some of my family's still in the system. My family been in the system since the early 70s. You know, um, I never wanted my kids in the system, things of that nature. So any those times those lean years, man, where now I've made good on it now, but we went to I call it it's Salvation Army type place, but it's called Harvest
Mm,
Home. We used to get groceries there every Wednesday. We used to go and get groceries from there just 10 years ago, literally.
yeah,
So that means my daughter's 4 or 5, and she's eating these groceries from basically the Salvation Army. I
mm,
didn't want that to I didn't want that for her. She didn't really know it or understand it,
right.
but my integrity's sake, I didn't want that to be the case for her. And so, it was just one of those things, man. But it's part of the testimony.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I asked, man, because I want this to be a podcast that definitely we share about our loves for our daughters, but I want it to be real. So my very first guest that I had on was a gentleman who is a brand new girl dad. Like his daughter is literally 2 months old. You know what I mean? And it's his first child. So I was glad that I started off with that, but I wanted to be where we're not just sharing, sharing to be sharing, but definitely sharing to educate each other, to encourage each other, to let each other know that we're gonna make some mistakes along the way. Like I said, my biggest regret is that daddy daughter dance. You know what I mean? Because it's something that she wanted it, but it's something that I always wanted. You know
Yeah,
what I
you
mean?
gotta
To be able
create
to take
one,
my
man.
daughter to that. Yeah, well,
You gotta create one.
that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. Even with this podcast, I'm gonna have a annual daddy daughter dance of all ages. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it don't matter how old or young you are, your dad and your daughter, come, or uncle, niece, have whatever the
yeah, yeah,
dynamic
yeah,
is. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? So that's one of the things that I want to do. Even with this podcast, to start doing that every year.
yeah,
And that's the story behind it. That's the movement behind that. Is because of that one regret that I still carry. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? And so I wanted to, I want us to share, but I wanted to be some meaning behind it too. Just share the good and the bad. You know what
yeah,
I mean? For the young fathers that maybe listening who haven't had a dad yet. You know what I mean? Or even the young ladies who, like your daughter, may have been through some hardships with their dad and know that it wasn't because that's what he wanted for her. You know what I mean? That he wanted to be in a better situation for her. So I just wanted to be impactful. I want this to be some good conversation, some impactful conversation, and definitely to help, the daughters and the dads, as we go through. So one more thing before we get into the next segment. You definitely shared some things about your daughter with us already, but is there a story, or if there is a particular story that's just meaningful to you, impactful to you, that you would like to share about you and your daughter?
Oh man, I mean, and we do everything together, so it's not one story. I mean, it's every day is something, with us. I mean, like that's so for us, but I just know one of the things I love about my daughter and my kids. I raised them in a space to understand that they're not just children. They're children now, but we are part of this team. You know what I mean? Like it's us over everybody. And they've adopted that so much that it doesn't make any sense. Like, and she's the oldest, so she's like on it. She's on it. She falls in line. Her brother don't have to worry about nothing. I mean, God is so good because I know I prayed for that. Like she falls right in. She makes sure if I'm not around, hey, this is what you need to be doing. She making sure her brother's on point. My wife, like again, my wife will be going in the next couple of days for a conference or something. I don't have to worry about him because look, I got him. You go do what you need to do. If you gotta go take care of something, I already got us. She knows how to cook already. She took to it. She wasn't trying to stay away from it. Hey, just get me this, and I'll cook for me and JJ. That's my son's name.
Mm-hmm.
And she got him covered. Oh, look, I already ironed his clothes for the week for school, and I ironed mine. So they good. He's good already. When I was moving, I live in Vegas now. When I was moving, I was back and forth. I knew I could count on her taking care of what needs to be taken care of and make sure my wife was good because she's just on it. So I'm raising them that way because I told them, I said, you guys are going to be older way longer. You're going to be younger. And when you get to a certain age, we got to count on y'all as other individuals. We shouldn't have to go outside our house. We got able-bodied people here to be able to make things happen. So I created an avenue for her to make her own money. Like my daughter, she's at one point she sold like 1,000 books to one school district. Like that's her business. That's what she does. She people book her to speak. She's been on the news. She's did all that type of stuff. So she has her own thing, and we support what she does. So she sings. She's a swimmer. She literally just had a swim competition Saturday, and she came in first place in both of the things she swam. So like she's a super kid, but
Mm-hmm.
she takes it in stride. She's still respectful. She might act more crazy in the house than she do outside. Because people like, oh, your kids are well behaved. Like they're crazy when they get in the house. That
Right,
type of
right.
thing. But she knows what time it is, and then her brother follows suit. He's coming right behind her, being a dynamic kid as well.
All right, all right. That's amazing. That's amazing. So we're gonna jump right into our next segment, which is getting to the core segment. Getting to the core segment, we talk about the core four, which is the four core values of every daughter should receive from her father, which is an ebook that I wrote. To my listeners, make sure you get your copy of the core four at ebooksbyejames.com. That's ebooksbyejames.com. I made it real simple. And there's also some other ebooks that are available. But in the core four, what we talk about is the four core values that every daughter should get from her father. And so those values are guidance, affirmation, love and affection, and protection. So Jay, if you had to pick one, just with your parenting style that you think is most important, should I say, to you to implement to your daughter, which one would it be?
Just the love and affection. That's the most important one. I mean, the other ones, the only one that's not really a lifestyle thing is affirmation, but the other two is a lifestyle thing. Like as a man, if you in your position, you automatically offering the protection, and just living your life properly provides guidance. But love is work, affection is work because when you tired, especially everybody's not an entrepreneur like me. I put it in my last book. The Freedom Over Finance. That's my second chapter of my last book. And I tell people all the time, and I put in the book that I was able to, one of the reasons I was able to make all those things because I was an entrepreneur. Now, I didn't have the money at first, but I still wouldn't trade it for the world. And now that I am doing well for myself, I still make time for my kids. I'm still in their life like that. And I've created a lifestyle where even she can make money. So now we're hanging together doing book signings or hanging together doing speaking engagements. She can come and talk to me about writing when she got to do a presentation at school. Dad, let me run that by you because she know we both presenters. And even I just told you about my son, he just did a presentation. Go talk to your sister because she's done at least 40, 50 times she's spoken, publicly. So that's a lifestyle. But the love, you're not always in the love space. People don't think that, but with anybody, like sometimes you're pissed. Sometimes they act crazy. Like I said, she's a teenager right now, so she's done some dumb stuff with the cell phone, and you hate, but you gotta love on her even in that space, even though you're taking the cell phone from her.
Right.
You gotta still love on her. You still gotta show her the proper affection so that she don't feel like she got to get it from nowhere else. Understanding that this is just correction, not corruption. You're doing the right thing this is my job. But those jobs are not easy jobs. It's not easy being a boss in a company, not easy being the head of a household, because it's all good when you're passing out money and everything is cute, but the correction is always the hardest part. The pruning is always the hardest part. And being able to teach them that that's what love looks like, and have a even balance of that. That's the hardest one, but I think it's the most important.
All right, all right. So the book again is called the Core Four. So if you could add a fifth core, a fifth value, what would that value be?
I think relationship itself, because it's again that's another thing that's work. It's work to build it, especially as they grow. It's easy when they're a kid, when they're babies. You got to do something with them. Sometimes it's not for them; it's for you. It's like, all right, let me give them something to do.
Right.
Take them to the movies. Let me take them to this place. Run them tired. Really for you, not for them. Being honest.
Right.
But as you get older, making that time, especially a girl dad, to say, let's go on a date. Let me sit down and spend some time with you. Let's go talk. Let's go kick it, and actually have a real relationship, something that they're looking forward to. That's important. My relationship, again, I had to create that because I don't listen to the music she listened to, that type of thing. I don't do. So I said, how can we meet in the middle so that we can bond? And on my birthday, I always have my kids with me. Like me and my wife want to travel, they coming. On her birthday, we usually go by ourselves, but on my birthday, my kids are gonna be with me. So they can, whatever I'm experiencing, they're experiencing at the same time. So if it's something new, they're seeing at the same time. So a dude can't come in my daughter's life and say, this is a first. If the first, a lot of the first is going to be with me. And
Right.
so
Right.
that's going to be a special situation for me, and her, because you don't forget your first in things, you know what I mean? So I want to
Right.
be that first to take her. I was first to take her out of the country, first to put her on a plane. We rode on planes together. So you ain't taking me on no plane. My dad took me on plenty planes. We went by ourselves, that type of thing. So I've always been big on that, at creating a
Yeah.
relationship.
Cool. That's what's up. I know one of the things that I started doing a couple years ago was having daddy daughter vacations where just me and my daughter and we just go on a vacation, especially with her being in school, in college and all that. So, when we be off, when she's off in the summertime, like, all right, let's go somewhere and just the two of us. Cause I only got one daughter. So she's just my only one. So I just like, all right, let's go.
How's
So
those
we do that.
vacations? I didn't get to the 20-year-old daughter yet. So how's that? Or the college? How's those when they get that old?
Uh,
How's the vacation work?
it's different. It's a little different. You know what I mean? Like I said, they got their own ideas of what they want now. When they're younger, it's like, okay, I'm treating you and this is what I'm gonna do, or what we gonna do.
Exactly.
Now it's like like you mentioned about going out the country. I only been out the country once myself, and I went out last year And she called me about it too, like, you ain't take me out the country. You know what I mean? I'm like, dang, I just went. You know what I mean? I had to make sure it was cool first, you know.
yeah,
But yeah, so they got their own ideas of how they want things, you know, as they get older. But it's cool because
yeah,
again, that goes back to that relationship, you know, because especially as they get older, you want to have that relationship where both of y'all are engaging. You know what I'm saying? You know, like you said earlier, your daughters usually don't leave their fathers, and you want it to stay that way. You know, you want to make sure that she always wants to spend time with you. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Whatever you're doing. And so that's what even one of the reasons why I started that, because I was like, man, we weren't around each other as much as she started getting older, and like, all right, let's start doing this. You know, at
Yeah,
least for once a year for a certain amount of time, it's just gonna be me and you uninterrupted, because you know I was married at the time, and then I got stepsons, you know what I mean? So as a family, we would do stuff. And I was like, all right, but now I want to get this time where it's just me and you
yeah.
know, and so I started that. So that was cool. Man, so Jay, you know what? I definitely appreciate you being on. Definitely appreciate you sharing your love for your daughter and talking to us about your daughter. I want you to leave us with just some tips, just some father tips for a father who may be listening right now, who, you know, just something that you feel that you can leave him with to take from this episode. So I'll give you a couple minutes to talk about, you know, to come up with that, and also
Good.
give
I'm ready.
your wait, I'm gonna do some other stuff first, but so why also leave us with your social media handles and all that. So I'll give you a second for that. To my listeners, guys, first of all, let me say thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Make sure you're also checking us out. Um, check us out on our websites. The business website is dealhealfulfill.org. And also check out ebooks by ejames.com to get your copy of the Core 4 as well as the other ebooks that we have available. And make sure that you guys also, you know, subscribe to our text line. Text the word subscribe to the number 866-326-0730 to receive text messages about new episodes, new ebooks releases, also event information. And one of the other things that I'm involved with, that I've been blessed to be involved with, is a um, a company called organization rather called the Forgiveness Mission. And with the Forgiveness Mission, we do free virtual workshops every quarter of the year dealing with forgiveness. And we talk about forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the world, just a lot of things that have to do with forgiveness, because I think that it's very important for us to talk about forgiveness and have forgiveness in our everyday lives. And so I'm blessed to be a part of that. So whenever you're listening to this, we, like I said, we do it's a free virtual workshop. It's online every quarter. So whenever you listen to this episode, either one just passed or is one coming up. You know, so check us out at theforgivenessmission.com. That's theforgivenessmission.com to take advantage of that and be involved in one of those workshops. And last but not least, I told you guys at the beginning that I was going to tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast. So you can win $100 from the podcast by joining our super subscriber contest. What does that mean? So you first have to subscribe to our YouTube page, our Facebook page, and our podcast on Spotify. And after you've done those three things, text the word WIN, WIN, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win $100. The contest is random and it's ongoing, which means once you're in, and you always have a chance to win. So again, that's to win $100 from the podcast. Enter our super subscriber contest by subscribing to our YouTube page, our Facebook page, and our podcast on Spotify. Text the word WIN, WIN, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win $100. And that's that. So, Jay, again, let me say thank you very much, man, for being on, for sharing your expertise and your experiences as a father, as a girl dad. And I'll let you have the last say. So the floor is yours.
Man, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. This is great. This is a great thing. Some other brothers need to get on here. Girl dad thing went crazy once Kobe passed away some years ago.
Right.
So it's a big deal with just dads, period, especially dads that look like you and me.
Right.
Um, it's a lot of dads that don't get the credit. I don't know too many deadbeat dads. And so we need to put that more out into the forefront that dads are knocking it out the park, especially ones that look like you and me. Um, you said leave something for another parent or somebody who's about to be a father. Man, just you got to be in the game in order to win, man. Like you just got to be there. These kids, they don't expect a lot from you. We put some false expectations on these kids, and I've learned that in my journey. But my daughter loved me when I didn't have anything, and she don't love me no more that I'm doing what I'm doing now. She just like that's dad, and she's happy that I'm around. My son, same things. Like I remember telling him some things he can do, and both of them like, well, we can just do the same thing you do. Like you don't even think like that. You're trying to make sure they have their own path. You don't realize that you're giving them stuff by living the right way in front of them, and not that holier and thou right way. Just doing the best you can. Whatever that's like in your life, do that. They're going to do what you do. They're not going to do what you say. So you can say all the stuff you want, but the kids are going to G-check you. They're going to be like, you didn't do that. Why aren't you doing? So be honest with your kids. I include them in everything that I'm doing, not just activities, but even when I make decisions. How would you feel if we move from the East Coast to the West Coast? What does that look like for you? This might have to happen. How do you feel? I talk to them like they're adults, because in our generation, we didn't get that. We got the information last minute. 18 years old, you're in college, now you got to figure it out. No, we're having those discussions because they are people, and they will be grown before you know it. And they deserve to know what the world is out there, going to give them. And they need to know that you're going to be there with them to the best of your ability to protect them, to ride with them, to guide them, and do everything, that's needed to be done. And nobody better than their dad, to do it. So especially these young ladies, they need us. They need us as an example. It doesn't mean they're going to marry somebody like you, because the truth of the matter is your first daughter usually just like you. And so that means you're trying to tell her to marry somebody like her. And we get it twisted. No, she's probably going to marry somebody the polar opposite. And that's not wrong on her behalf. She got a lot of traits from you, especially if you're in her life. So she's going to be looking for somebody different. Just make sure that she's okay. A lot of times we worry about a man coming in there doing what we do. I'm her only daddy. She don't need another daddy. She need a partner. And partnership means that she has to do some things for herself. And so equip her to be straight and good on her own. So that's repellent for them jokers that, who got their stuff together. Because a lot of cats aren't as bold as they act like. I mean, they see a woman, they got their stuff together. They either get it right before they come see her, or they don't bother her at all. So put her in a position that she's good. So only the best of the best going to come and try to, have the guts to come and talk to your daughter and to have her hand and be there for that process, so she can usher them right to you, and you can really do the real filling out.
Right, right.
Good. So I've already started that process. My daughter got invited to a little freshman thing in high school, but I've seen it in action. I've seen her say, well, in order for me to do this, you're going to have to talk to my dad. You have to meet my dad. You're going to have to this, that. And I didn't even have to say that. She just did it on her own, so we don't have those discussions, and he didn't get his legs broken. So obviously it worked out.
Right. So Jay, drop your information where we can find you at, man. And definitely drop the information for your podcast that you that probably by the time this come out, you probably have it back, running again.
Yeah. We already started doing some episodes already. We about right where you at. We did about the last 6 episodes. We getting up a few months up before we start rocking them out like that. But yeah, Jay Haleem. You can put Jay Haleem on YouTube. I mean on Google and pop up. But I am Jay Haleem on all my social media sites. I Won't Starve. Just go, you put the hashtag I Won't Starve, that will pop up in Google, or just go to www.iwon'tstarve.com. I Won't Starve Academy is my nonprofit where we teach and train Black entrepreneurs. We help other people, but the primary focus is my people. We help them to be entrepreneurs and put them in the positions that they can have that not American dream, but dream period, to be able to take care of their family, take themselves to another level. So if anybody is looking to do that, they can go ahead to iwon'tstarveacademy.org and you can go to that website. But yeah, just put in J Haleem, put in I Won't Starve, hashtag I Won't Starve, any of that, and it'll pop up. My books, go to that. I'm not gonna promote my books, but my baby's books was a girl dad thing. So my daughter's 2 books, Malaysia's Big Move, Malaysia's Big Creation. It's so funny. She was only 10 when she wrote the first one, and she just grew so much from each picture. But yeah, so she has a third one coming out on her birthday. That's in July this month. So Malaysia's Big Promotion. So it's her series, is an anti-bullying series, and it's just talking about anti-bullying and how to prevent bullying. And they created their own little anti-bullying club. It's like a breakfast club thing in our generation.
Right.
They created an anti-bullying club to help stop people from bullying. So it's been a dope situation for her. And hopefully she keep it going until she get too old and say she don't want to talk about that stuff no more.
Right. So where can the books be found at?
Oh, Sydney'sBlock.com. Sydney'sBlock.com. So my daughter's name is Sydney. Sydney'sBlock.com. She has merch on there. This is her little alter ego, Malaysia. So she has her shirts with Malaysia on there, and she's a little firecracker. Of course, Malaysia's from the New York area. She gets that from her dad. She got a little firecracker in her. And but yeah, she has Malaysia shirts and ABC Club shirts and things like that. And her books are on there. She has a nonprofit called Anti-Bullying Club. It's a 501c3, so she does events through that too.
All right. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Jay, thank you again, man, for being on.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate you coming on, man. And definitely props to you for pouring into your daughter and seeing the great things that she's doing, man. I really you're a testament to what this is all about. You know what I mean? So I definitely appreciate you being on. To my listeners, man, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where our mission is to spread the voices of girl dads to the world, so that they know we out here and we kicking and moving. You know what I'm saying? Sharing love to our dads and our daughters. So until next time, we'll see you guys later. Be blessed.